We were standing outside of the restaurant and talking about watches, having a cigar, and I see this very famous watchman, Jean-Claude Biver, walking by. And then he asked, "Who owns this place?" And I said, "I own the place." And because I recognized him, I said, "I'm also wearing an ice bang." And he was like, "Oh my God, you are." And he said, "You know what? As soon as I go back after the fair, I'm going to send you a handwritten warranty for the watch for 10 years.
Jay Kumar, welcome to Talking Watches.
Thank you. I mean, it's such a pleasure to be here with you guys. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be here as well. Can you tell us first where we are?
So you are at a restaurant called Lore. It's in Park Slope in Brooklyn. And I've been running this restaurant for the past 2 years.
How did you get here in the first place?
So let's go back. I was in Switzerland for 30 years. I went to Switzerland in 1989 to do my hotel and culinary school. Got a job at the Hilton Hotels. I was with them for 10 years. Started my own company in end of 2000 and ran it for 20 years. By the time I had 3 restaurants in Basel.
Where were you from? What was the transition like?
By birth, an Indian. I lived in India for 21 years. We had an amazing family. My father used to be from Kerala, my mother is from Karnataka, so it's 2 different languages. So I learned the languages, I learned different way of living, the way people were. We also had a situation where, things were very open for us and we could do whatever we wanted to do. And that was the goal of my parents for us, to go wherever we wanted and actually be independent for us. Talking about my father, I mean, the first time I even thought about, saw anything about watches were when he was, he had his watch with him. And, I used to always think, oh my God, what a beautiful, instrument it is. And he's always would be very proud to wear it. And that used to be the Datejust plexiglass Rolex. Being an Indian son, you are expected to be a doctor or an engineer, or this is what the parents would want you to be. But I was not a person for that. It wasn't what I thought I would want to do. Even if I did my physics, chemistry, biology, and maths in college. And that's when I started looking around and said, okay, I'll go to Switzerland, because Switzerland is considered to be one of the best places for culinary and for hotel management. So that's what I did.
So where exactly in Switzerland were you at the time?
So I studied in Chur, a place called Pasug. We had a campus interview from different hotels and restaurants who came to our campus to find people to work for them. And Hilton Hotel, they sort of, they came and I had an interview with them and they took me for an elevator program. What they have is like a management training. It's 3 times 6 months. And then they gave me a job in Basel, Switzerland. When I started off working at the Hilton, in March and April, everybody used to go crazy because Basel World was happening. And we were like, what is going on? Nobody knew. And then we got passes to go to the show. And that's when everything hit me. I was stunned of what was going on over there and the people. It was the first thing what you see when you get in. On the left side was Rolex, on the right side was Patek. There was Chopard, there was everybody in the first, building itself. And I was like, this is insane. And that's how everything came to me. And, I was like, the interest got more and more. And I was there for, the Hilton till about end of 2000. And I was working with them with this. Switzerland, you see watches everywhere. All of these big companies, everything was Switzerland. So it was difficult for me to look at all of these things. And, I remembered my dad. I remembered everything what happened to me. And I was like, this is the best place to be for watches. But you can't afford any of these things because it's crazy. And I at that time, I earned $2,000 per month, and that was enough for, food and for the place I stayed. So my goal was to buy one watch a year, collect money and buy one watch a year when I started earning money. This is what my mindset was at that time. And most of the time it worked out that way. But most of the time also I got watches because of deals and things which I made, with people. Connecting with people in the business made sense to me. So for example, the Ice Bang Hublot, it's just one of the nicest watches which I have. I connected two friends of mine who didn't know each other, and they made a lot of money because of that, with watches. And the next year he came to see me. He gave me this watch and told me, you know what, you've helped us so much. This is for you. And I know that you love watches, and you should wear them, wear this all the time. So we were standing outside of the restaurant and talking about watches, having a cigar, and I see this very famous watchman, Jean-Claude Biot, walking by. And then he asked, who owns this place? And I said, I own the place. And and because I recognized him, I said, I'm also wearing an Ice Bang. And he was like, oh my God, you are. And he said, you know what? As soon as I go back after the fair, I'm going to send you a handwritten warranty for the watch for 10 years.
That's amazing. Did he ever come back to the restaurant?
He did.
Yeah.
So what he did after that was he gave my details to his executive assistant, and whenever there were Indians or whoever from South Asian community coming to to Hublot, he used to send them to me.
It's a pretty good connection to have, especially for just the random fact of wearing that watch on your wrist. I mean, were you wearing that watch all the time, or was it just pure coincidence that day?
I loved the Hublot Big Bang when it came out. I used to go crazy. I went crazy about it, and I used to always wear it. And it's because of tungsten, and it's one of the hardest materials. I could wear it at the kitchen, and nothing would happen to it.
No, I mean it looks. I mean, the bezel looks basically brand new. You think about any time you see a flat bezel like this on any other watch, it'll be scratched with.
You can bang it wherever you want. It's absolutely fabulous.
I mean, I think this is something that people like to joke about Hublot, unfortunately, a lot. I don't think people really get it. People don't really appreciate it. And at the time when this came out, this was really...
It was the thing. It's like when Panerai made its, when Panerai came out, everybody wanted a Panerai. Even now, I mean, it's not as whatever, but at that time, that shape was totally different. You know what I mean? My dad, he was mostly a Rolex guy. He didn't like anything else. When I understood about watches, when I was going to college and whatever else, and when he came in, he used to live in Oman, in Muscat. And I used to be in India with my grandmother and my aunt. So when he came in that one time and he was wearing a GMT, Mark III, like this particular watch over here, I was like, oh my God, what is this? And he explained to me what a GMT means. And I was like, this is so amazing. And, and of course I expected him to give it to me.
You can always hope, I guess, right?
Yes. In Switzerland, I was, I had a restaurant and I was doing also caterings and events. And there was this one particular event where there was this friend of mine who, who used to make windows and, glass paints and whatever else. And, he had an amazing stuff going, and he wanted to have his, his party in his house, and I catered for it. Then he randomly comes to me and tells me, look, I have these 3 watches. You can decide which one you want. And I saw the GMT, and I'm like, this is the watch which my dad had.
Yeah.
So I said, is it okay if I pick this up? He said, anyone you want. And that is the watch over here.
It's definitely been loved and worn. I don't know, how much love and wear did you put it on it yourself, do you think?
I think when I got it, it was brand new.
But I love this.
It looked brand new, but I wear my watches in whatever I do. So I used to wear them when I was cooking. I wear watches like I like to wear watches, and that's the reason why I can't wear them otherwise. And this is the time I spend the most in the kitchen. So yeah.
Do you think your dad had a GMT because you guys were apart?
That's what it is. That's the reason why he had a GMT, because he knew how to communicate with us to which time, because we were 1.5 hours behind them. There is this watch. It's a JLC, Jaeger-LeCoultre Memowax compressor. I mean, the reason why I like this watch is it's an alarm, and it's got this nice sound. But I also got it from a friend who used to sell watches at that time, and he's been very dear to me. And his name was Andy Fry, and he had this company called Time of Switzerland. He used to always make time for you as a person who's, whatever the situation was, however he did it or how he did it, didn't matter to me, because he was very straightforward, and he, like all the Swiss are, they're very straightforward. They'll tell you exactly how the situation is, and there's no arguing or anything else in between. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he was very dear to me, and we lost him, but that's the reason why this watch is very dear to me.
I mean, it's a really quintessential part of their lineup, but it's also evolved over time. And I think like the fun thing about this watch to me is you look at it and you sort of can exactly tell the moment in time that they made it.
Yeah.
It's got that very anachronistic sense about it. It couldn't have been made any other time than the period that you probably around when you got it, or maybe slightly before when you got it.
Yes.
But they've gone forward, they've gone back with their design.
Yes.
But this is something that only could have been made
by them at that time. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So we have an interesting design in this in the memo box, but I think the most interesting design for me on the table, maybe curious design, creative design, is probably this watch. And that was another Switzerland pickup for you?
Yeah, so Michael Vogt is a guy who is a founder of Vogard. This is a brand, I think he started in 1999, if I'm not mistaken. The reason why I remember this is it's connected to two different things. So first of all, I have a little factory in Mangalore which makes screws and piliers for Ronda.
Okay.
So I have 35 Tornos machines, which I bought from Switzerland.
Okay.
And I put it in Mangalore because, the quality what we give them, because the raw materials are all from Switzerland and the machines are Swiss and the people who work are Swiss trained.
Okay.
When I went to buy the machines, I got it from a guy called Peter Brocci.
Okay.
Now, Peter Brocci, he is a friend of Michael Vogt.
Okay.
So because he knew that I liked watches, he said, there's this amazing watch which I know, watchmaker I know, would you want to go and see him? So we went to his house. He showed me these watches and he said, this is one of the easiest, time zoners what there is, because you just have to pull it out and rotate the bezel, and you will go to that place you want to go to. For example, Silverstone or Monaco or Delhi. And it goes to that time zone when you turn it. Michael Vogt, I think he was trying to get more funding and whatever else to really get this watch up there, because this is one of the best what there is. IWC, I think it was Mr. Kern at that time who actually connected with him, and he sold this technology to IWC.
And now...
And the time zoner of IWC's got the same patent on their watches.
Yeah, they've executed a little differently. You've got this little lever that you pull out, and then you can turn and set. But it is, honestly, I haven't played a lot with IWC's version. Yeah. I think theirs is a spring bezel that you kind of push down and then you can turn. So it's a little bit easier. But the other thing about this that you sort of unintentionally pointed out is you mentioned Silverstone, and I'm looking here, it's Laguna Seca, Indianapolis, Sao Paulo. So this specific one, I think, is a little bit different than some of the other Vogards as well.
So this one is actually a limited edition, which just highlights Formula One.
So if you're flying from Formula One to Formula One race,
so you don't have to worry about that.
But man, that's such an interesting design. It's also a watch that I've never seen before.
Yes, it is an absolutely highlight of my collection, especially to know that I own the original version of the time zoner.
Yeah,
because that's much more interesting than anything else of this watch.
Since IWC took over this design, this patent, let's move on to the one on the far end here.
Yes, so just before I left Switzerland, I did an event with also another friend of mine who used to come to my restaurant all the time. And I called him 3 weeks later. I said, listen, I sent you the invoice. Is there any way you can, speed it? Because, I'll be leaving from Basel to Brooklyn. So I'd like to, see if that is all done. And he tells me at that time, Jay, I have no money. I have a situation which I need to organize, but I don't have that particular amount of money right now to give you. And I was thinking, okay, I've done this now. I'm not getting any money for it. Yeah, second time, I'm not getting any money for it, but I'm leaving anyways, so it actually won't make any difference if, I would just go crazy just thinking about it right now. So I'm going to let it go. And I let it go. A year later, I get a packet and he sent this watch. And I was like, this is insane. I mean, it's a full circle. You see what I mean? It's sort of, you do something, you have no other choice, and something good happens somehow. This is worth a lot of money, but, he owed me $7,000.
And again, it doesn't necessarily pay the bills, but that wasn't the concern, and that was all taken care of.
Yes,
but
that's exactly what it is.
It's also an interesting thing for me, I think. It's a big watch.
It's a big watch.
It's a big watch. You've got a couple sort of big, prominent watches here. Do you gravitate more towards bigger watches? People will often tell me, "Hey, this is the size watch you should wear. You're 6'7". You're a big guy. You should wear this watch." I think this seems to really work for you. I can picture you wearing any of these. Is that sort of your general taste now?
Yes. I mean, when I first started wearing the Rolexes, it was nice, but I felt as if it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was, it was okay. It looked good, but it was as if it wasn't there. And then when I got the Hublot, that's when I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm looking at, And then I used to also own a Panerai, a titanium. So all of those watches sort of made sense to me somehow. That's why I sort of, stuck with those bigger ones.
Would you wear the bronze watch cooking in the kitchen?
No.
No? I think it would look a lot more patina than it does right now if you were wearing that around spices and heat.
No, that's not. I mean, I think it's also the problem with such watches. I cook with a lot of steam happening and whatever, but that would just destroy it. But with this, I've never had a problem with the Hublot. It's always been. I've never had any situation where, I also have friends in Manhattan from the boutique, Oren, who tells me anything, just send it to me, I'll organize it for you. So
that's sort of, I think, a lot of the Switzerland era. And then, so now home is in New York, home is in Brooklyn. There's a couple watches to round things out that are sort of more close to home for you. Is there...
So let me first go to the Minerva.
Okay.
It's, it sort of makes sense because when I saw this watch, I knew that I wouldn't be wearing it because it's too small a watch for my wrist.
For your taste.
For my taste. But this reminded me. It's a perpetual calendar. It reminded me so much of a Patek. I don't know why.
Yeah. But this is just a simple calendar, so you have to adjust it.
Yes, and you have to adjust it, but it's got so much in it when you look at it. It's so much character, and I saw that with my friend who lives in Brooklyn and who's also a very good guest of mine, Rob. So Rob was, he held on to it. He was like, this is an amazing watch, and I want to keep it myself. And I was like, I love this watch. Tell me how much it costs so that, we can have a deal and we see how we can organize this. Like, okay, if I sell it, I'll sell it for $8,500, not less. So I started talking to him, and then I got it down to $8,000. Which sort of made sense to me. It's such a beautiful watch, and my wife wears it now, so it's.
I love the fact that you knew like this is not necessarily your taste of what you would wear, but you had to have it anyway, just because of how special it was. I also just love that you said this is a watch mostly for your wife now.
Yes.
That kind of brings you full circle to why you're in Brooklyn. Tell me a little bit about what brought you here, your connection, and the fact that this is the watch that, on the table at least, exemplifies that connection.
I mean, 2016, I'd gone through a very bad phase of my life health-wise, so I had to be very careful what I did and what I ate, what I drank. I stopped drinking alcohol at that point of time, as it would have caused much more damage. And I get a random email from a girl from New York saying that she's working with Scope Art Fair, and I had some of the Scope people coming before to set up the place. So I used to give them food and whatever. So I get a random email from her saying that, hey, I see that all of my people are posting some crazy food which you serve them. When am I going to eat your food? So I said, when are you going to come down? She said, I'm going to be there on Sunday. I said, okay, Sunday I'm closed. I'll cook exclusively for you.
It's a good way to get in the door with the girl, I think.
So I met her. I took her to the restaurant. I cooked a 7-course meal for her. And we sat down till about 3 in the morning and we were talking, and we were instantly drawn to each other, and it sort of made a lot of sense for me to pursue being with her. But there is another story connecting us. This Breitling over here was worn by her dad. He had also some Rolexes, and he loved this watch, and he used to always wear it. And Daria, I don't think at that time was very keen on watches as like automatic, or she just wore a watch which made sense for her. And I think she had a choice to select a watch from her father, and this is what she selected. And when we met and when we fell in love, and then she said, you know what, I would want you to wear this watch for my dad. And this is the connection which made a lot of sense for me, connecting to the whole, it's, as you say, it's a full circle. It comes back to the same thing.
Yeah. So this is this the only watch that she has from her father?
Yes, that's the only watch she has from her father.
I feel like that's how you really know that you guys are special. I mean, to give up the one thing, that's a hard thing.
It is a hard thing, and if you look at it, it's like you still have it with you, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's with me or with her. It's still with her. So I think it sort of makes sense in that context.
So last watch on the table, I think sort of some people would say this is like maybe the most expected watch. I would be lucky if this was expected in my collection, but I think people say, it's a Rolex Daytona.
Yes.
What's there to talk about? We've seen these before, but what is this watch for you?
So I always thought the Daytonas were too hyped up and too over the line, and I never thought I would own a Daytona. I get this random call from a guest of mine called Tony. He's a postman. But he's a guest, and he always comes to the restaurant. He's an Italian guy, amazing person. So he calls me and says, hey, Jay, I have a situation. I have a friend whose husband left her, and she is very angry, and she has some things what she wants to sell.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. And he knows I collect watches, so he says, can I come to see you? I said, okay, come, I'm in the restaurant. So he came to the restaurant with this lady who was very angry, and she puts out 3 watches. The Daytona, steel, the Kermit, the Submariner, the green vessel, and a Breitling Quartz, the digital one, which some pilots wear. And she tells me, you know what? I want to sell all of these watches. I said, I can't buy them. This is crazy. Are you kidding me? She said, no, you have to, please. $6,000. 6,000 Swiss francs. Please, just find the cash for me. I want to just get rid of every damn shit. And she had some amazing artworks, and which I had no money to buy. And I said, you know what? I'll get you the money. What happened was, I think she had a talk with a guy, and she said, look, you have all of these things over there. I'm not going to use them. He said, you know what? I don't care. Do whatever you want with them. You can sell them. I don't want to come back. I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. I just want to, get a clean slate. So Tony, who is my friend, he knew that it was not a big situation, and I could buy it. Everything was documented. He signed as a witness, she signed, I signed, and after that, I heard that this was a zenith moment, by the way. So
yeah, this is a Zenith Daytona.
Yes.
It's black dial. It's got the nice sort of creamy fade to the subdials. I mean, again, like sort of like the GMT. You can tell that you got spent some time wearing this. But so it was more of a question when it came down to the question of hype. It actually was more of a question of value and how much it was actually worth to you, and you found your number of what it was worth to you.
I have had so many people wanting to buy it at the restaurant, guests who have told me, cash so much, cash that, just give it to us, we'll buy it immediately, I'll go and get the money. And I'm like, no, but I had a white dial which I sold, so.
Can you talk me through a little bit about the restaurant itself here? If people are visiting Brooklyn and want to come by, what can they expect?
So let me go back to Switzerland. I mean, I've been in Switzerland for 30 years. I ran 3 restaurants. The first 14 years I did Indian, and then I knew that I could start experimenting on what I'm doing, because Europe, you have access to all the different countries, Barcelona, to Spain, to Portugal, France, all around you. So what I did was I tried to, use French techniques. At the same time, I also tried to get things organized with different countries, but giving it an Indian tweak. I am Indian, I know how the spices work with little things and what I do. And this particular restaurant has got a fish and chips which is gluten-free with the fish is marinated with a Malabar masala, for example. You know what I mean? And then battered and then fried. The chips, hand-cut chips, double fried, but with my chili blend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that, which nobody would even think about.
Indian food in the U.S. is becoming more and more popular, more and more accessible, but showing people that you can do a lot with that inspiration is pretty cool. So, we've got a great 8-watch collection here on the table. What's next for you? There's been a lot of change over the last few years moving to Brooklyn, but also, is there more to come for you in your career? Is there more to come for watch collecting? Do you still sort of have the goal to keep adding to your collection once a year or maybe more?
Maybe not once a year, but I think now it's looking at certain, value added watches, like watches which sort of, you have as once in a lifetime watch, which for me would be a, like an offshore or something like that, or a Patek Nautilus, which sort of. But that's not going to be now. I'm 56. I still have some time to think about things like that. But with all of these things, what you're looking at, you're also looking at the time when you want to wear them, or time when you think you can enjoy certain things like this. You know what I mean? And when you have a collection which sort of makes sense, you try to, keep that going the right way.
You said you wear the Hublot a lot still.
Yeah.
So Jean-Claude Biver walks in the restaurant and he sees you wearing the Hublot again, and you connect over that.
Yeah.
What are you making him? Are you making him something new to show where you've come, or are you making him something that he's had before to remind you of that connection that you have?
So if Jean-Claude Biver comes in and sits down here, first of all, I give him a dosa. That is the rice, fermented rice crepe with masala potatoes. You have some nice chutneys which goes that. I would give him first, and then I would give him a take on the roshti, which he's used to, with the mushroom ragu. So that dish, we call it the uttapam. So roshti is something similar. So roshti is done with potatoes, boiled potatoes. It's like hash browns, like latkes, but with boiled potatoes and cooked with butter, and you get a golden, color, and it's on. And there is this meat dish called Geschnetzeltes Kalbsfleisch. So it's a sliced veal dish with mushrooms and a cream sauce.
Okay.
With rashti. That is the dish together. So what I did is I took a take on it. I made a fermented rice dish, which is vegan.
Okay.
With vegetables in there and mushrooms in there, fried it, and then had the mushroom ragu with coconut milk.
Wow.
And it's got black truffle paste in it and some spice in it, just to give it more, consistency. That is a crazy dish. There's so many flavors of it.
No, it sounds like a lot. And
so that's what I would give him, because he would go back to Switzerland here.
Yeah.
At the same time, he would have something which is amazing for himself.
Okay, well, I think I'm gonna have to order that at some point if I can get that.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having us, man.
Thank you.
This
is amazing.
A ton of fun, and congratulations on everything, and looking forward to seeing what you can build here.
Yeah, thank you.